a first impression of this schedule. And then I want to break it down into 4-game segments. My first impression is that this schedule has no real soft spots in terms of stretches of games where you say, oh yeah, there's a run of wins. I don't see it if there is. That's what strikes me as different from other ones. And they've had some gauntlets to run through in portions of their schedule. I definitely see that in this one. What I don't see is a soft stretch. I really don't. People talking about opening with the Falcons, like, oh, that's a game you got to win. I may have even been saying that yesterday. I don't remember. That they're coming to town with arguably the greatest offensive weapon in the game in Bijan Robinson, last I checked. They've remade, or at least added one right tackle, Juwan Taylor, to their offensive line. They have Drake London. They brought in Dotson. Kyle Pitts actually had a good year. That's potentially a pretty powerful offense coming in here. And I don't look at this schedule. If somebody can find the soft spot, I'd love to see it. Is it late when you have Carolina and Tennessee back-to-back? Maybe. I don't know about that. Carolina seems to be maybe a team on the rise, and any road game for the Steelers is going to be a challenge. So that's what struck me most as sort of an overall observation about this schedule, is that it's tough, consistently tough is what I see. You?
When I look at it, Joe, I think post-bye, this might be a problem for them. Like they, again, just like last year, needed to stack wins in the early portion of the year because you're talking about going to Philadelphia where you never win, playing the Broncos on a short week, Cincinnati in prime time on the road, Jacksonville prime time on the road. The second half of this season, not easy at all. They're a little bit fortunate that their bye is in the middle of the year. But again, it's not after the Paris game, which I'm surprised about. That could be a trap game with the Browns at home.
Well, that's one game I feel great about, but you're right, coming back from Paris, who knows? I agree with you. But before, look at the opening of the season.
Right.
They've got one of the great offensive weapons in football coming in here, and Stefanski coming in, running that offense. Now, unfortunately for him, he's now in another place without a quarterback. Then week 2, you're at the Patriots. Week 3, you have Joe Burrow, presumably. And then week 4, you got your nightmare game, which is Thursday at Cleveland. Do you know how many Thursday games at Cleveland have gone horrifyingly bad? Dating back to the Mason Rudolph-Myles Garrett incident, to Jacoby Brissett lighting them up against Mitchell Trubisky, to, you can go back further. You can go back way further than that. What am I talking about? I think Brady Quinn beat them on a Thursday night once. And then you had the Russell Wilson game in the snowstorm a couple of years ago. I mean, that's not good. A Thursday at Cleveland. And then you have Jonathan Taylor. And if Robinson isn't the best back in the league, Taylor might be. You got to contend with the Colts. And then you got to go at Baker Mayfield. And then you're going to Paris. So maybe right there you can win a couple against the Saints with a home crowd behind you. And I think it will be a home crowd, basically, in Paris. And then Cleveland. But then you have your bye week, and then it's at the Bengals. You just said it. At the Eagles.
Yeah.
Broncos. Texans, at Jags, Ravens. So here's my question, too, as an overall question before we break this down. At 412-928-9370, off the top, brought to you by JP Roofing and Siding. Let's all, and some may think this exercise ridiculous. I don't. Rosters are pretty much set. You look at the schedule. I just saw a number, in fact, from the other day for all these people. And I admit that you obviously don't know about injuries and things like that. But you can kind of tell most of the time. You can. And I saw on ESPN.com, they were talking about the Bears and how they have the toughest schedule in football. I think this was Graziano. He said the last team to win a playoff game after entering the season with the hardest schedule, meaning before the year you look at last year's one loss of your opponents. So the last team to have the hardest schedule based on that and make the playoffs or win a playoff game was the 2016 Falcons. Over the last 10 years, 7 of the teams with the hardest schedule missed the playoffs altogether. 7 out of 10. The others lost in the first round. So sometimes you can take a look at the schedule and have at least a decent idea. And right now, obviously, nobody's injured, not even Joe Burrow. So we look at this and we have to rate it that way. And my question limits for you and for everybody else at 928-9370. Does anybody realistically see something way outside of 9 wins? Like, I think in the NFL, you have to predict within 1 win to say, yeah, I made a good prediction on that team. Like, I say 10, they win 9 or 11. I made a good pick. 2 wins away is too far. That's the difference between going, 10-7 and 8-9. Does anybody see 1 win either way from 9? I guess that's the best way to put it, because I absolutely don't. They're going to go 9-8, maybe 10-8 when they lose their playoff game, maybe 8-9. And then you'll have everybody in America outside of Pittsburgh saying, see, you should have kept Tomlin. You could have gone 9-8 and gotten killed in a playoff game. Instead, you went 8-9 and missed the playoffs. What a huge difference that is. I don't see any rationale for looking at this roster and this schedule, this team, and coming up with something that is far off 9 wins, that is more than 1 win either way. To you out there, you can step up and give your prediction. 412-928-9370. Give him a chance to step to the plate like ND Rodriguez limits. Do we have that little clip of me from our preseason capsule?
Yes, we do.
You have that clip?
We have that today.
You know what? I need a self-esteem boost. We were doing our predictions for the Pirates season, and I think the category was surprise.
Surprise
and
player.
Surprise player. Listen to what the savvy old news hound said. I got a surprise for you, Bob, in terms of a player. You ready for this one?
Yes.
Grab your seatbelt. ND Rodriguez is going to play well in AAA, baby. And through injury or some other form, he's going to get to the majors. And I can see myself cringing in October when we play this. But he's going to get to the majors and finally make an impact. Good old ND. You like that one, Bob? I wonder if Bob did like it. And wasn't it great to hear his voice on the show today, Limits, right?
I mean, that would be a surprise for sure.
And so far,
that's a great
so
ending.
Good in 1 game.
Now, I was wrong that he would be good at AAA. He wasn't, but I honestly had a feeling that if healthy, he hasn't been healthy. He's been hurt for 2 years, basically. He was a great prospect. And it's only 1 game, I know that, but I needed a little self-esteem bump there. So if I had to pick right now, 10-7, 9-8, 8-9, some 1-game variant off 9 wins is the only thing that makes sense to me. I just can't see it going wildly either way. Unless they have injuries, then it could go way down. That's the way I see it, Limits. This is the easiest team to predict in all of sports.
Yeah, typically, always.
10-8, 10-8, 10-8, 10-8, 10-8. They've had 3 10-8 seasons in a row. I mean, it is incredible. They're the easiest team to predict in all of sports because they basically never change their philosophy. You know what I mean? They won't tear it down even a little bit. And the ceiling, they have a ceiling because of their quarterback situation, mostly. So here we are. We're definitely looking at that, don't you think?
I agree. I really do. Now, I could, Joe, see as low as 7 wins. Like
Me too.
I do see that on the table. I will probably predict 8 or 9 wins. I don't see this as a 10-win schedule. If things were organized in a different way, I could. They might pick up a couple with the Panthers and the Titans at the end and one of those Ravens games. But that means that they'd be right around 6 or 7 wins at the end of the season anyway, going into that final stretch right around January, trying to creep right into the playoffs.
So tell us what you think, because I agree with Limits, and Limits agrees with me, which is an unusual start to the show.